Welcome to the Anxiety Connection. If you've ever struggled with anxiety and are ready to finally get some answers, you've come to the right place. Hi, my name is Wendy Leeds, and I've suffered with anxiety my entire life. Thankfully, I'm also a psychotherapist, and over the years, I've learned a lot about anxiety, where it comes from, and how to manage it. That's what this podcast is all about. So, let's grab a cup of tea and talk about it. Hi, this is Wendy from the Anxiety Connection. Welcome. I am so glad you're here today. As we record this podcast, we are all dealing with the coronavirus, the isolation of quarantine, the worry, the uncertainty of what lies ahead. So, if you're feeling panicked, overwhelmed, powerless, and out of control, this podcast is for you. Because today I'm going to share 4 ways you can feel better during this crisis and any other tough time in your life. But before we get started, I want to let you know we have our usual crew here with us today. My husband, Tim, in charge of technology, and our dog, Miles. I also want to share something with you that I am so excited about because I think it's going to help us both with our anxiety in such a positive and powerful way. My new book, Calm and Sense, A Woman's Guide to Living Anxiety-Free, is coming very soon. I cannot wait to share it with you and with me because I wrote this book to be the book I could use and couldn't find. And I want to make sure you get a copy. So if you're interested, please go ahead and get on the wait list. You can do that by going to wendyleeds.com/coming soon because it is. Cannot wait to share it with you. All right, getting back to business and this talk about crisis and fear, dealing with isolation, and all the things that go along with facing a pandemic or a loss of a job or a tough diagnosis, an accident, the death of a loved one. Crisis comes in all shapes and sizes, not just a pandemic. And believe me, I am an expert at dealing with fear, trauma, and panic. Sadly, I lost my mom last year. I've been diagnosed with and treated for cancer 3 times. In fact, as I've shared, I just finished treatment for leukemia last year. So I know from personal experience how tough it is to be in a dark place. And let me just say, if someone in your life is dealing with a recent cancer diagnosis, please go read my article at Tiny Buddha. It's called Loving Yourself Through Cancer and Any Other Terrifying Diagnosis. Again, it's a Tiny Buddha, and we'll include the link in the show notes. But I do want you to have a resource for getting through a tough time. I know how tough it is. But no matter what kind of crisis, pandemic, or traumatic event you're dealing with, the impact of that fear, the feeling of being utterly helpless, looks and feels very much the same. Today, I want to share with you 4 things I have learned personally about getting through those tough times. They got me through. I hope they will get you through too. Number 1. I want to start today with a story about what I learned in the hospital while I was doing chemo for leukemia. My first evening in the hospital, I was so sick and scared about what lay ahead. I didn't know how I was going to get through. And if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I had no idea how I was going to handle things until a social worker came into my room. She sat beside me and asked how she could help me. And I told her I was just overwhelmed and I didn't know how I was going to be able to get through things. And she asked, well, how have you gotten through things in the past? What qualities, strengths did you rely on? What did you do? Were there any special tools you used? If they worked before, do you think they might work now? And I remember being really surprised at her question. It wasn't at all what I expected her to say. And it was a complete opposite of what I'd been thinking. It was exactly the opposite of how I'd been focused on how weak and powerless I felt and how miserable the experience was. But in that instant, she helped me change the way I was thinking and allowed me to think back and focus and remember times in my life when I was able to reach out and connect with other people, that I'd been able to rely on them for help and comfort. I remembered that I was really good at finding the humor in situations. And if you are just getting to know me, you know I love to laugh. And best of all, I knew I had the power to choose what I was focusing on. I had just forgotten that I knew how to use it. And I realized in that moment, I had to think differently. It was just like a magical thing. It was as if someone had walked in and switched on a light and I could suddenly see. I realized I did have what I needed to get through. And that switch, that change in focus and thinking made such a difference for me. So let me ask you, how have you gotten through tough times before? What qualities did you use? What strategies? What tools? What techniques worked? Do you think any of those things might work now? If not, why don't you give them a try? Because no matter how tough things get, there is, I believe, always something you can do to make them better. Even if it's as simple as changing the things you say to yourself. Number 2, the second thing you can do to help you regain a sense of power and control is to realize and acknowledge things have changed. Your old normal routine, that comfortable place, isn't there anymore. There's no going back. But here's the truth. You can go forward. How? By doing the work to create a new normal. And that comes, there's just no magic here. It comes from creating a daily schedule. Do the same things. Get up every day at the same time. Get dressed, even if you're alone. No sweatpants for you. Make your bed. Brush your teeth. Schedule meals at regular intervals and make sure you eat well. Eat your vegetables. Your mother was right. Having a schedule like that, creating a routine, puts order in your life. It gives you a feeling of control when maybe the rest of everything around you feels out of control. It keeps you grounded emotionally. It also helps you stay healthy by including the positive, healthy routines in your everyday life. Having a schedule allows you to create your new normal, and it offers you a bridge to the new life ahead. So that schedule is a bridge from your old normal to your new life. Number 3, I think this is the time to practice what I've been calling radical kindness. Practicing radical kindness to everyone, starting with you, because you matter. And you matter a lot. Just ask the people who love and depend on you. You make an enormous difference in the world, and you deserve to be treated with kindness, respect, and compassion, starting right now. So number 3 is practice radical kindness and treat yourself well. And please treat others with the same respect, kindness, and compassion. In order to do that, small things matter. Say please and thank you. It sounds small, but it makes a difference. Share your feelings openly. Tell people how you feel, but be sure you listen in return. Ask for help when you need it. In return, ask what you can give. Most importantly, this is the time to work on forgiveness. Forgive yourself, forgive others. I say this all the time to clients. You are doing the best you can in this situation. And so is everyone else around you. It may not feel like it, but they are. I love the way Maya Angelou says so beautifully, do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. Let me broaden that idea to say, you are doing the best you can. If and when you know better, you'll do better. They are doing the best they can. And when they know better, they will do better. We are all doing our best. So when you make a mistake, be quick to forgive and slow to judge. And when they make a mistake, the same. We are all doing the best we can. Let that be enough for now. I've saved the fourth for last because for me, this is the most important thing I have ever learned about getting through a tough time. I was just starting 6 months of chemo for breast cancer, and it was one of the darkest periods of my life. I remember getting up in the morning and thinking, I can't do this. I don't know how I will get through this day. Anyway, I wasn't sure how I was going to do it until I heard Captain Scott O'Grady's story. If you haven't heard of Scott O'Grady, I am so excited to be able to share this story. He was an Air Force pilot, and he was shot down over Bosnia in 1995. He was able to parachute safely to the ground, but he was behind enemy lines. When the enemy saw his parachute, they came hunting for him. Scott dug a little hole, covered himself with dirt, and lay absolutely still as the enemy walked, within feet or inches of where he lay on the ground. And as they were walking, they were shooting their rifles randomly into the ground and the bushes, hoping to hit him. He just lay absolutely still, and eventually they gave up and he left the area. Scott was there behind enemy lines for more than 6 days until he was very dramatically rescued. And the story of that rescue is the inspiration for the movie Behind Enemy Lines. So if you've ever seen that movie, it's quite a story, but that's not what gets my attention. What got my attention and changed my life was when asked how he got through such a terrible experience, Scott said it was what he had learned in survival school. They taught him to eat bugs and leaves and how to survive physically. But what resonated with me, and I hope resonates with you, was how they taught him to take things 1 hour at a time. He was told, just do your best. Just do your best in this hour, and the rest will take care of itself. So just eat the bug, make the plan, take care of yourself. And when I heard that, I thought, gee, you know what? I can't do this all at once, but I can get through this hour. And that's how I got through chemo and the surgeries, and that's what still gets me through the tough times. It can get us all through this tough time as well. Whatever the challenge ahead, we can get through it 1 hour at a time. Just do your best in this hour. Just take care of what you have to take care of. Don't worry about next Thursday or 2040. Just live this hour to the fullest and the best. Finally, know that this will pass. No matter how difficult this time, it will end. Things will get better. And as the old adage says, not to worry, not to fret. All is well, but not just yet. Before I end, I just want to remind you that if you're struggling to get through this COVID-19 pandemic, I do have a blog on my website, an article that you can go and read for extra support. It's wendyleeds.com. I will look forward to seeing you there. Until we're together next time, I wish you peace, joy, and love.